On May 15, UX Podcast took part in From Business to Buttons, a Stockholm-based conference organized by InUse, a service design and user experience agency. At the conference, we conducted no less than 5 speaker interviews that we will be bringing to you in full over the next few months. Keep listening for some teasers from Kellee Santiago, Jared Spool, Namrata Mehta, Toni Ulwick and Dana Chisnell. These are just some of the topics covered in the interviews. Kellee Santiago talked to us about creating a console game that restores a sense of faith in humanity.
I mentioned this on stage, but it was such a aha moment for me in realizing that the common, especially console online multiplayer game experience of logging in and getting cursed at by kids somewhere in the world, and you just like, okay, I'm never engaging in this again. In those games, saying things that are provocative is a strategy to win those games. I mean, it is absolutely a part of the way those games are designed. When you need really fast responses, you need to have those fast twitch controls. As an opponent, I'm going to try and do whatever I can to like throw you off of that. So there is a lot of control we have as designers in designing the way people even interact with each other in online spaces. And so that was definitely one of the theories going into Journey. Our high like mission statement in a way was, I just remember in early pitch decks we were saying like, if that's the typical console online game experience is this like negative experience, we want to create the online console game experience that makes you feel a renewed sense of faith in humanity. So like, can we hit this like high watermark?
Jared Spool explained why we want product managers and others to make design decisions.
We're not thinking in those terms. And when you're embedded and you're the designer in the team, you're resistant to the idea that a product manager might make a design decision because, you know, what's my job if the product manager makes design decisions, right? But we want the product manager to make design decisions. At the same time that we're resistant to the product manager making design decisions, we complain every time they make the wrong decision, right? And we see ourselves as we're wearing the designer cape and we come in and we are, we've got our designer pajamas on and we are solving the team's designer villain issues. And that's our job, is to fight crime. And why are they, they just should stand back while we fight crime. But that approach doesn't work. If everybody fights crime, it works a lot better. And if we just educate everybody so that the criminals just don't realize that they're bad doers, then we go better. And I think I've taken that metaphor far too far.
Namrata Mehta enlightened us on the dual opportunity of designing for the vast landscape that is India.
So when I say the dual opportunity, I think I'd initially begun by thinking of it as a dichotomy, because when you're working in a context like India, as a designer who obviously wants to make something change, the things that you can change are vast because there's a lot that needs to improve. And so on the one hand, you have this opportunity to make real change happen for people who don't have access to the very basic things like sanitation or healthcare or employment opportunities. And then on the other hand, you have just this growing class of people who have the exposure and access to world-class products and services and travel, like people like me, who live in India but then are able to travel the world and talk and speak in ways that someone from any other country would. And so I think that's where it's not the catch, but that's where the dual opportunity is.
Toni Ulwick described why we need to understand the problem definition through the lens of the customer.
And of course, if you're talking to an existing company, they're already in markets. They just haven't defined the markets through this lens. So the challenge for them is rethinking their market and moving away from a product definition to more of a job definition. So it's a little bit challenging, but generally, going to the customers and asking them, they know what job they're trying to get done. So I'll give you a pretty interesting example. We worked with one agriculture company that makes pesticides and herbicides. And they said, well, the reason they're using our herbicides is because they're trying to kill weeds. And they were pretty definitive about that. So we go out to the growers and they say, we're not trying to kill weeds, we're trying to grow crops. Right? We don't really want to kill the weeds, but what we're trying to do is prevent them from encroaching on our plants so that we don't diminish our yield. If there's other solutions, we're open. So understanding the problem definition through the lens of the customer is absolutely critical. And oftentimes, if you have that inside-out view, you miss the big picture.
Dayna Chisel had so much knowledge to bring us on democratic voting systems, and here specifically on understanding the limitations of our traditional design artifacts.
I have worked in organizations where somebody has said, let's make a journey map, and that is like a product of the design team. But that's not the reason for doing it. The reason for doing it is, well, there are a lot of reasons for doing it. Our reasons for doing it were to understand what we thought we knew about the process, figure out kind of where the gaps were in our knowledge and understanding of the process, not just between election administrators and voters, but for voters. Some parts of the journey that I laid out today for the privileged voter and for the burdened voter our data is a little bit thin. So over the next few years, we will be doing more work in those particular areas. But it gives us a tool. You know, it's a boundary object. It gives us a tool for saying, this is what we know right now. What will be different in a year or in 3 years based on the work that we are doing? And can we fill in the gaps, or do things move around, not only because we learn more about what the experience is like, but because the laws change, or the culture changes, or the political landscape changes. And so while I've been presenting this particular journey for a year and a half, something like that, I expect in a couple more years it will look quite a bit different.
It was absolutely fantastic seeing everyone at the conference, and we truly had a blast. A huge thank you to InUse for bringing us the great event that is From Business to Buttons. And now be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of these insightful interviews. The address you want to go to is uxpodcast.com/subscribe.